what's wrong with you? Why do you have to be so emotional? How come you're so hypersensitive? God, toughen up. What the fuck? Really? It's not that there's something wrong with you. Anybody who talks to you that way, there's probably something wrong with them, but I get it. I've asked myself that many times. What the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I so hypersensitive? Why am I so emotional? And what I have discovered is there's reasons for that, and they're good reasons. And not only is it not a liability, this is a gift. Join me in this energy update, and I'm going to share with you some insight into why we have these times of feeling hypersensitive and hyper emotional, and why it tends to be repeating, and better yet, how you can make use of it rather than have it be a burden. Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm an intuitive, an energy healer, a teacher, and spiritual life coach. And I take it as my passion and purpose in this life to help people who are highly sensitive, people who have been traumatized, to convert your life from surviving, because that's really could feel sometimes like you're just hanging on and just surviving, but to convert that into a life that is truly thriving. What I want to talk about today is this full moon that we have coming up on Tuesday, December 26th. It's a Yuletide full moon, and it is also the full moon in Cancer. Now, this is a trifecta of emotional energy. First of all, let's just talk about the moon. The moon as a celestial body represents the passive energy, the more relaxed and open and free-flowing cooperative female energy. It is considered to be a reflection of Mother Goddess. And so it's a very nurturing, emotional, but also intuitive and spiritual energy. So that's just the moon by itself. Now we put the full moon. This is when the moon is at its most powerful. So you have these energies of being hyper emotional and feeling very tender and sensitive, maybe nurturing and loving. Or if you're like me and you live far away from family or don't have a lot of people really close to you in your life, it can feel really I get nostalgic, I get homesick, I get reminiscent, and so that can be kind of triggering if you are by yourself, because there's this wanting of community and coming together that comes with Cancer and the full moon. Cancer is the zodiac sign that brings all these together. So we have the full moon, and we have the moon in Cancer. So it's really a really powerful energy right now. So if you're feeling like a fucking basket case, I hear you. It's kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Well, this is what's going on. And I thought this was a really good opportunity to talk about something that has been very, very helpful for me in my recovery from being a victim of trauma to being a survivor and then a thriver from there. And that is an understanding and appreciation and an honoring of natural cycles. The moon is on, of course, a natural cycle where we start with the new moon. A couple weeks ago, we had a new moon. This means that if you go out at night, you won't see the moon. The moon is actually out during the daytime, and it's lined up with the sun, so you wouldn't even see it. It's lost in the glare of the sun. From there, the moon will gradually gets a little bit larger. It grows from the crescent to the quarter moon, to the gibbous moon, and eventually to the full moon. It takes about 2 weeks for that to happen. And then at the full moon, of course, it's in its fullness. And this can tend to be when people who are sensitive like you and me can feel things very strongly because the moon does rule our emotions and our intuitions and our spiritual connections. So there's the moon, and then we make the moon full, so like that's moon power squared, and then we put the full moon in Cancer. That's like moon power cubed, like to the third root. It's very, very big and powerful energy. So if you're feeling kind of overwhelmed and super emotional, totally understandable. But it's helpful, I think, to recognize and know that this is a natural pattern. In the Wiccan tradition that I was raised in, it's all about knowing and honoring and living by the cyclic patterns in nature. Everything is a cycle. And so like the moon cycle, we also have cycles, especially if you're intuitive or highly sensitive. So at a time like this right now, when we're coming to the full moon, you may begin to feel, like I said, it's a lot of energy, feeling very emotional, hypersensitive. Just know that this is part of a natural cycle. There's nothing wrong with you. It's part of a natural cycle. And honor that. In the tradition I grew up in, we had a full moon ceremony that we did every month. And that was a way of saying, wow, I have all this energy that's been accumulating and building and gathering all this energy over the last couple of weeks or so since the new moon. As the moon phases begin to get bigger and bigger, the energy and all the gifts that it brings accumulate. And so then when we get to the full moon, we can say thank you and be prepared to release. I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, and for some reason the image of a little catfish came to mind. When I was a kid, we had an aquarium, and we had this little tiny catfish that lived, and he just hung out in the bottom of the aquarium. We named him Hoover because he was the cleaner. And if you've ever watched them, they kind of go along and they go, and they suck stuff up from the gunk from the bottom of the aquarium. And then they spit out the big chunks. They filter through the water through their gills, and whatever is useful for them, they collect, and that's how they eat. And this is kind of, I know it's a weird metaphor, but this is what came to mind for me is, as we go from the new moon to the full moon, we're taking it in, and then you get to this point where like, I'm too full, there's too much, I can't take anymore. And you can either freak out and just like fight against it and try to resist. Like that resistance is futile. It's time to expel. It's time to release. Once we hit that full moon, then we're into the waning phases, and it's time to release. It's time to let go. But you get to keep the good stuff. Take the blessings, honor the blessings and the gifts of the last 2 weeks, release everything else, and then as we go through the next 2 weeks of the waning phases, then we get back to the new moon, and you're ready to take on the new gifts of the next new cycle. I also wanted to take this as an opportunity to look at things in kind of a bigger picture. Do you find yourself feeling like you're on like a repeat cycle? Like lather, rinse, repeat, lather, rinse, repeat. Like you keep running through the same patterns, maybe with issues coming up or getting triggered or problems or situations that trip you up. I believe that it's helpful to see this not as being, you're not stuck unless you let it defeat you. If you get to the full moon and you're feeling all overwhelmed and super emotional and you go, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And you go to bed and don't get up for 3 days. That is victimhood. That is not helpful. There's a difference between freaking out and trying to run away from it and allowing yourself to feel your feelings. Have a good cry. Talk to a friend about what you're feeling and what you're processing. You'll process it. But pushing it down and running away just traps it in your body. That is something that is known in all the research that's coming forward in trauma-informed care, is that whatever experience you're having that you don't process through, don't allow yourself to feel, and it's passing through your body and your energy field, that's what makes us sick. That's what builds up and causes problems in body, mind, and spirit. Second thing I wanted to talk about was intuition. The moon is also the celestial body of intuition, of inner knowing, of clairvoyance or clairaudience, clairsentience. And so this is continuing to be a time of a thinning of the veil. I talked about this in the last energy update, and it's still true because we have this full moon in Cancer. You may be feeling maybe you don't believe in spirits or ghosts or whatever, but even if you're just feeling the energy, feeling emotionally the presence of a loved one who has passed away, that's very, very real and very true right now. There's a friend of mine that we were driving along Highway 1 here in San Diego, next to the beach, and we're driving along, and I just kind of glanced out the car window, and I saw a spout, like, oh, I think that was a whale. But there was a little sign or a bush or something in the way, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I felt like I had to see it again to confirm that I actually saw a whale. And I'm like, oh, I can't see it. And my friend says to me, did it look like a whale? I was like, absolutely. Well, then it's a whale. Why do we question ourselves? When you feel a presence, when you get a message, when you see an image of something, or you have a dream that feels meaningful to you, or you look at the clock and it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 12:34, and it pings you. Why do we question that? Why do we doubt ourselves? I really truly think that's probably one of the greatest harms that is done in our culture, in our society, to children, and especially to the highly sensitive child, is to discount the creative imaginings. This is the language that your intuition uses to communicate to you. Your higher self, your guardian angels, guides, whatever you want to call them, this is their way of communicating with you. And by being open to that, by being allowing and trusting that, hey, if it looks like a whale, it's a whale. Let it be what it is. And honor that gift that you have. Finally, about the spirituality. So the Cancer is about emotion and intuition and spirituality. For me, intuition is a crucial part of my spirituality. I feel that by connecting with these energies, whether it's the full moon energy or an eclipse energy or a seasonal energy, these are all very deeply spiritual for me because they're all part of the natural world. And the natural world is the body of God, as are you, as am I. So going back to that large-scale picture of the cycles in nature and owning and embracing them in our own life experience, what I have found is that it's very common for people to feel like they're stuck. They're stuck in a repeat cycle. To say, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me, is to come at this from the victimhood place. And it's giving your power away to external circumstances. If instead you can take the same exact circumstances and recast them in a new light, you can use this as an opportunity. So rather than say, why is this happening to me? You can be just observing and accepting, like, oh, this happened. I did not enjoy that. This is not a happy place. But what is it about this particular situation, What is it about this set of circumstances or this one thing this person said? What is it in me that makes it a problem, a troublesome, bad thing? And you can reframe it. So, you go along through life and you're going along, and you trip and you fall. And then you have to get up again. And then you and you're going along and you trip and you fall. If you find that is happening over and over again with the same key principles, the same key issues, maybe it's relationships for you, maybe it's money. Everybody has some core issue. It's an aspect of your life that causes the greatest problem for you. For me, money has kind of been it, but more than anything, it's been relationships. For some people, it's their physical health. This is your life lesson. This is the opportunity. Life will continue. It's like the phases of the moon, like the signs of the zodiac throughout the year. This is a natural cycle. And every time it comes around, you have the opportunity to fall into it or to step over it. You can step above it. You can use it as a launch pad to lift you to a higher place. That doesn't mean that this issue won't come back and trip you up again. It will. It undoubtedly will. But the next time, you're better able to learn from it, cope with it, and move past it. Let me tell you about an example from my personal life. 10 years ago, as I've mentioned in previous videos, 10 years ago, I had a major mental health crisis. I was in and out of psychiatric hospitals over the course of a year or so. And at one point, I was on disability, long-term disability. And thank God, because I had been a teacher for 20 years, I had super awesome insurance, and I was actually had a really good income. But the last place that I went for treatment, I needed a doctor's signature to say that I could continue to stay on my disability, which I had just finally gotten awarded like a month earlier. And instead, he wrote on there that I was good to go back to work. Oh my God, you want to talk about triggered? Oh, wow. I could have gone into a tailspin. I could have gone back into inpatient. I could have let it trip me up. But instead, I decided to move forward. It was the most difficult, probably, other than the year of being in treatment itself, the year that followed was some of the most challenging and horrific times of my life. I went back to work part-time as a teacher's aide, substitute teacher's aide. And I literally had to do breathing exercises every morning as I was driving to wherever my assignment was that day, to keep from having a panic attack. And then I would work usually about a 6.5 hour day, and then I would go straight home and go to my bedroom, and I'd have to meditate for half an hour just to keep myself from freaking out. This was it the most horrible time in my life, or was it the most transformative? So many of the things that I've learned came in that year. It was the most transformative time of my life. And sometimes I want to just curse that doctor. It's taken me 10 years of gradually going back a little bit more, doing a little bit more, a job with a little bit more responsibility, challenging myself every step of the way. It's taken me 10 years to finally get to a place where I'm earning the money I was earning before my mental breakdown. Unfortunately, that was 10 years ago and inflation, but but whatever. And I feel like I have a great job that I love, and it pays me well, and it's all good. But my point is, I look back on that time and I want to curse that doctor. Like, why did you do that? How could you do that to me? I was so not ready for that. It just about broke me. I had a guaranteed income. But instead, I reframe it and I'm like, you know, am I the victim? Did he do that to me? And it's so wrong. And I mean, I could waste a lot of energy lamenting the loss of that status of being, you know, having a steady income and being able to just, you know, not have to work. But the fact is, it maybe took me 10 years to get back here to this place of being in a good place financially with a job and benefits and all that good stuff that I had before. But it has transformed me. It has been a transformative experience. So here we are. We have a Cancer full moon. It's a trifecta of overwhelming emotion at a time of year with the Yuletide, you know, solstice, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, all of these festivals of the season of being with family and all this loving, wonderful energy. And if, like me, you are missing your family and you're feeling overwhelmed, I hope that this helps you to know that this is part of a natural cycle, that your awareness of the energies and how you can use them maybe will help to make this transformative for you as well. That's pretty much all I have to talk about today. I just wanted to share with you really quickly. I know some of you joined me a few weeks ago. My friend Claudia had me on TikTok Live with her on her account, Courageous Wolf Tarot. And we are going to be doing that again this Friday, the 29th. So I'll leave some information down in the description down here, along with the link to my website. I hope that you will join us on the 29th. And we did 3 like mini sessions on this live, which was really cool to be able to work with people in that venue. I hadn't done that before. Claudia did an intuitive tarot reading while I was doing an energy healing for the first 3 people that signed up got to do that. It was really fun. So I hope you will join us. I really wish you the most beautiful, wonderful Yuletide season, whichever form you celebrate. And until next time, blessed be.